Hello and welcome to this edition of FYI Weekly, your official source for the latest news and information from the city of Greensboro. The Greensboro Virus Relief Fund has received another large donation in direct response to needs facing the community as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. The Phillips Foundation has approved an additional generational grant in the amount of $500,000. The Virus Relief Fund was established by the United Way of Greater Greensboro at the request of the city. The Community Foundation of Greater Greensboro is a key supporter. This contribution is outside of the foundation's traditional grant-making cycle. The donation includes $250,000 to support United Way for immediate relief. The remaining $250,000 goes to a revolving loan at the Community Foundation of Greater Greensboro to support short and long-term recovery efforts. Elizabeth Carlock Phillips, executive director of the Phillips Foundation, said Phillips Foundation invests in once-in-a-generation opportunities to move the dial in Guilford County. We cannot think of anything more once-in-a-generation than an unprecedented global pandemic. Each of us must step up to support the community however we can. As of April 17th, the Greensboro Virus Relief Fund has awarded more than $1.3 million to nearly 60 local nonprofits to help meet the needs of Guilford County residents negatively impacted by COVID-19 and the subsequent economic downturn. Greensboro Parks and Recreation is accepting public comments on a proposed project to enhance Country Park as part of the Battleground Parks District. The proposed site plan can be reviewed online. The deadline for comments is Wednesday, May 6th. There are several ways to share feedback. Facebook Live will be available 10:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Wednesday, April 29th. Access the Parks and Recreation Department's Facebook page. Questions or comments can be submitted on the Facebook live stream during either session. Video of the broadcast will also be shared on the city's YouTube channel on April 30th for those who don't have Facebook accounts. Comments can be emailed to gsoparksandrec@greensboro-nc.gov. If those options aren't convenient, residents can opt to take a survey. The city is seeking a Parks and Recreation Trust Fund grant to enhance the Battleground Parks District. Enhancements include a tree canopy walk, zip line, picnic shelter, bathrooms, an accessible walkway, a new parking area, and relocating the dog park. For more information about the project, contact Shauna Tillery at 336-373-7808. Greensboro Parks and Recreation will host its first virtual camping event called the Great Greensboro Camp In. On Saturday, May 2nd, residents are invited to pitch their tents in backyards or build blanket forts in their living rooms. Beginning on Monday, April 27th, staff will offer live tips and tricks to enhance the camping experience. Tune in to Facebook at 1 p.m. each day. The program schedule is as follows. Monday, April 27th is Mondays with Mikey, which introduces the friendly critters found in the yard. Tuesday, April 28th, learn how to pitch a tent, make a tarp tent, or build an inside fort. Wednesday, April 29th, learn to build a fire or how to make an artificial fire. Thursday, April 30th, is a lesson on making s'mores, trail mix, and cooking with foil over a campfire. Friday, May 1st, listen to traditional campfire songs and stories and tips for finding the best stars in the sky. The Great Camp In is going to wrap up on Saturday, May 2nd with Camp In Bingo. Residents are encouraged to take pictures of their campsite and share it. Staff will select 5 favorite campsites to receive a Parks and Recreation prize pack. Email pictures to gsoparksandrec@greensboro-nc.gov. For more information, contact Jennifer Hance at 336-373-2964. In an effort to help each of us improve our quality of life, the city has partnered with Cone Health for a series of brief and informative videos designed to inspire you to make better choices when it comes to healthy living. Let's check in with our friends at Cone Health for today's News for Your Health.
1 in 4 Americans suffer from allergies. Don't let the things that contribute to your symptoms stop you from enjoying your activities. I am Dr. Rosalind Hicks, an allergist from Allergy and Asthma Center of North Carolina, a member of Cone Health Medical Group. Let's get started and talk about allergies. Allergies are the common cold. Very similar entities. They both consist of a lot of congestion, runny nose, sneezing. Typically with the common cold, you're going to have, starting out, a little more scratchy throat, sore throat, and you often a little bit of fever. Both can have cough because of the postnasal drip, and you're going to feel a little lousy with the common cold, will run down, dehydrated, those kind of things. And then with allergies, it can be any time of year. Cold may be more common in the winter season. And allergies can be with exposure. You just mow the lawn? Did you just take care of the cat or dog? Did you just clean out the attic with lots of dust? So those are the things we think about to differentiate between a common cold and allergies. The common triggers kind of fall into two categories: indoor, outdoor, seasonal, or year-round. So in the spring, we think a lot about tree pollen, followed by grass pollen and weed pollen. And then we have dust, mite, cockroach, mold, which can be indoors and out, and then any kind of furried animal, dog, cat, gerbil, any of those. So clearly if we're sensitive to the animals, then we shouldn't have animals, we shouldn't be exposed to them, but we can't really control completely pollen exposure. So if you go outside, if you're doing something involving that exposure, then wearing a mask, if you have to mow the grass, wiping off your hands and feet, taking off your shoes before you walk through the house so you don't track the pollen through, minimizing the window being down as you ride down the road, and wiping off the cats and dogs when they come in from their walk so the pollen is not throughout the house and on the furniture, those kind of things. Well, of course, avoidance would be the biggest action that we could participate in to try to minimize symptoms, but side of that, adding medications to minimize the congestion, sneezing, runny nose. I'm a huge proponent of saline rinse, and so that's something easy that's not medicated. It's just salt water flushing out or clearing out the nasal passages so we can take away those allergens that we've been breathing in. I think it is very important to prepare for allergy season so that you can minimize your suffering and you don't have so much congestion and headache or disrupted activity. I like to encourage people to start their medications around Valentine's Day, and usually that'll minimize their symptoms and they can go into the allergy season ahead and symptom-free. It is important for individuals to think about allergy testing if they're having lots of symptoms, uncontrolled symptoms, they've tried multiple medications, or they feel like there's one specific thing that they're really interested in knowing that they're allergic to. And especially if you have upper and lower airway symptoms, if you're coughing and wheezing, then that has become quite the standard for management to consider allergy injections. And we need to know exactly what you're allergic to be able to put in your specific vial so that we can manage you with the injections if we have the positive testing available there. And in the situation where you may be food allergic, having allergy testing can be very informative to know what to avoid. Thank you for joining us. I hope all this information has been helpful to decrease your suffering from allergies. For more information, go to conehealth.com/wellness. I'm Dr. Rosalind Hicks.
The city is making every effort to reduce the financial burden on residents as we all try to manage daily life during these challenging times. Several fees for key services have been waived. We'll have that story and more news coming up after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to FYI Weekly. The city's Code Compliance Division is waiving the accrual of civil penalties and assessment of re-inspection fees associated with active residential and non-residential code cases. Also, no new civil penalties and re-inspection fees will be assessed. These changes are due to COVID-19 and will be in effect until further notice. City code compliance inspectors will continue to conduct required inspections to make sure conditions of structures are safe. However, when working in areas where it may be difficult to maintain 6 feet of social distancing, code compliance inspectors may request the area be cleared of occupants. Stan Wilson, director of the Neighborhood Development Department, said the temporary suspension of penalties and the daily accrual of those charges, as well as re-inspection fees, allows everyone to stay safe without creating an additional financial burden to property owners, landlords, and business owners during this pandemic. Property owners and contractors are still allowed to make repairs and perform maintenance on structures since the state has declared these as essential functions. For more information, call the Code Compliance Office at 336-373-2111. Staff is available Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. In response to the COVID-19 outbreak, the Water Resources Department is working with residents who are having difficulty paying their water bill. In mid-March, the city temporarily suspended water shutoffs and late fees on past due water accounts. The city will set up a payment plan for past due accounts. Arrangements can be made by calling the contact center at 336-373-2489. Staff is available Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. If your water service was disconnected for non-payment prior to mid-March and it's still disconnected, the city will reconnect the water for the duration of the COVID-19 situation. Call the contact center for assistance with getting the service restored. Payments can be made downtown in the Melvin Municipal Office Building, but customers are encouraged to use remote payment methods instead. Pay by phone with a credit card by calling 336-373-4729. Make a payment on the city's website or use the drop box at the Kitchen Operations Center located at 2602 South Elm Eugene Street. The usual $1 convenience fee for paying online or by phone has been temporarily waived. The city's boards and commissions with time-sensitive issues on the agenda will be able to conduct meetings virtually while still maintaining the state's stay-at-home order amid the coronavirus pandemic. Meetings will be conducted via Zoom and led by city staff liaisons for each board and commission. The liaisons will also be responsible for sharing the appropriate Zoom connection credentials to staff, board and commission members, and the public. All electronic meetings must provide public notice of when these meetings are scheduled, which should include the name and contact information of the staff liaison. The meetings must follow standard protocols and procedures for the respective board and commission. For a listing of all city boards and commissions, visit the city's website to access the list of boards. A link will direct users to a web page about that particular board and its staff liaison. The coronavirus outbreak has resulted in operational changes in several city departments, primarily public safety. Coming up after the break, we'll talk to Chief Bobby Nugent about changes to the fire service. Stay with us. Welcome back to FYI Weekly. City operations have been altered significantly in order to help reduce the curve during this COVID-19 pandemic. One area that doesn't minimize its response, regardless of what's happening in the world around us, is public safety. Joining me now to talk about the fire department's response to COVID-19 is Fire Chief Bobby Nugent. Hello, Chief Nugent.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you. We are practicing the social distancing.
Absolutely.
And I'm curious, what is fire service like now that we're in this pandemic in terms of for your employees?
Sure. Well, things are obviously different for everyone, but the job still has to be done. So pretty much our daily routines have stayed for the most part the same. We come in, our folks, work 24-hour shifts, so they're coming in doing the same things they normally do, taking care of the equipment, training, responding to calls. But some of the things that we have done is how we've altered some of the ways that we make our responses. Between the Gifford County Medical Director and the Gifford County Emergency Service Director, they've collaborated to come up with some calls that we don't necessarily have to respond to because we need to be there if we can make a really difference there instead of trying to be there to be in and get exposed. So what we've done based on their recommendations, there's some calls that we do not respond to anymore, and there's mostly some type sick calls that we do not respond to anymore for right now. And so what that's been able to do, it has reduced our call load. So we're down roughly anywhere from 40% to 42% of our calls because a lot of them were the medical calls that we respond to. This allows our employees to reduce their exposure to people who may be positive with COVID-19. And also, on the benefit from it, if there is one, it gives our folks the opportunity to do more training, to do more sanitation around the station, sanitation of the equipment, those type things there. So it has changed in a way that's positive and negative for us. So it's a little bit different now.
Yes, I can imagine. It's been different for everyone, and that's interesting to know that your call volume could be reduced that significantly. You mentioned some of the cleaning and steps in that nature. So how have you changed business as usual to protect the firefighters and staff?
Sure. One of our major things that we do, obviously, is keep our equipment clean and sanitized. So although we have had some difficulties getting some of our products that we need in to help do this, we are having some success in getting some sanitation equipment to come in. Actually, what we do is we take our equipment and we have built some sanitizers so that we can come in and decon our fire trucks, to decon our fire stations, and we do those ourselves. One of the first things that we done, though, was we took a group of our firefighters to, once the situation started to become more serious, and sent a group of folks out to all the stations to re-emphasize our policy that we have for responding to these type calls. And so what we've been able to do is this group of folks have gone out, extra training for our firefighters in the stations, just as a reminder. Even though we have a good policy and people have followed all the time, it was a good opportunity to take those folks and let them go out there, re-emphasize, do some remedial training on our infectious control policy that we have within the department, to make sure everybody understands that what they're doing, make sure they're doing it right. And during that training, it also talks about how the best way to sanitize, the best way to put on your PPE, to take your PPE off whenever you do go on calls. So it's given us that kind of an opportunity to get more into the stations with our folks. And it's kind of unusual because no one would really think that the calls would actually drop. But 70% of the calls that we ride on the fire department now are medical calls. And so when we've reduced certain types of medical calls that we don't respond to any longer, that call volume obviously has gone down, which is not a bad thing. But it's kind of an opportunity for our folks to do some other things.
And speaking of your call volume, we've now reached that place where we are recommending people wear a mask in public as they're going about their routines for those essential destinations or activities. But are you finding that you're getting more calls from people who think they might have the virus?
Well, yes, that's kind of a hard question to answer, because those calls obviously come in through our 911 system, and so they are screened by the telecommunicators at GM 911. So a lot of the times when they're calling in, and once they go through that screening process, you have a good idea whether or not this may be a COVID type call. Could it be someone with the flu, or is it just someone who is actually just sick from something else? So it does give you a little more idea of the increase of calls that we thought we may have. But with communications doing such a really good job screening the calls before we get them, and then we have the notes that come through on our MCT, so our folks know pretty much what they're going into before they get there. So it's still kind of intense and makes our firefighters anxious, because sometimes things aren't quite as what people make it out to be when they do make the call. So one of the things that we do ask is, please answer the questions that the telecommunicator is asking as honestly as you can. Give them all the information that you can, and it will allow us to give you better service when we arrive on the scene. Okay.
And before we go, what additional advice do you have for our residents so that they can be helpful to you and your firefighters when they do respond to calls?
Well, the first thing obviously is to observe the state of emergency order that the governor has out with the social distancing. Always, if you have the opportunity when you're out and about and you can't not social distance yourself, put a mask on, some type of facial covering to kind of protect yourself and then protect the other folks as well. And then when you do call, if you do need someone to respond in emergency, like the fire department or EMS unit, you make sure you try to give them as much information as you can about what the call type might be. That will give you a better service when the person or when the department responds, or when they get on scene. They'll know more what they're about to deal with and can offer a better service to you.
Okay, so now is not the time to substitute a particular symptom, saying you have a heart attack patient when you really don't, and it's someone who has the flu.
That's correct. That's correct. Because, with the way things are now and the PPE that we wear, the type call depends on what we actually wear when we go into the different zones of a hot zone, warm zone, or the cold zone into the call itself.
Okay, and we want to keep our folks safe. Chief Nugent, as always, you bring an air of calm during a crisis. We appreciate the fire department for responding to each of these calls and also for keeping us safe. Do come back and keep us posted.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Stay tuned for some useful information about Greensboro as we tell you something about the city. That's coming up after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back to FYI Weekly. One way to stay informed about decisions that impact our city is by tuning in to City Council meetings at 5:30 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of the month. The fourth Tuesday is reserved for a meeting as needed. Due to COVID-19, the City Council is meeting virtually. The Greensboro City Council meetings are broadcast right here on GTN. The meetings are also streamed live on the city's website and on Roku. City Council meetings take place on Level 2 of the Melvin Municipal Office Building located at 300 West Washington Street. To review the council meeting schedule and agendas, please visit the city's website. Here's an opportunity to learn a little something about the city. The Greensboro Virus Relief Fund has allocated more than $1 million to 58 nonprofits, helping thousands of local individuals and families impacted by the coronavirus. The task force wants to raise an additional $2 million to continue rapidly supporting community members during the pandemic. The funds are allocated from the Greensboro Virus Relief Fund, which United Way established at the request of the city of Greensboro. Aside from individual and business donations, United Way and the Community Foundation of Greater Greensboro have also contributed to the relief fund. Applications and instructions for virus relief funding are available on United Way's website, and nonprofits are encouraged to apply. The Virus Relief Task Force meets virtually on a weekly basis to review applications and approve funding requests. Making a donation to the Greensboro Virus Relief Fund is as easy as visiting United Way's website or texting the word virus to 40403. Coming up after the break, we'll showcase our department spotlight. But first, we have a special message from Mayor Nancy Vaughn regarding the coronavirus.
I'm Mayor Nancy Vaughn, and I want to take a moment to talk to you about the coronavirus situation and what you can do to help during these difficult times. Regarding the recent stay-at-home order, I have received hundreds of emails asking, what am I allowed to do? You are free to travel to essential services or destinations, such as grocery stores, pharmacies, healthcare appointments, and outdoor exercise, all while using proper social distancing. Restaurants are still open, but can only offer takeout and delivery service. If you aren't doing these activities, we need you to stay home. Our goals are to reduce the rate of transmission, to keep our community as healthy as possible, and to reduce the burden on our hospitals and healthcare workers. We will continue to monitor the spread of the coronavirus and to coordinate with state and county officials. If you have questions about the stay-home order, email stayhome@guilfordcountync.gov. Stay home if you don't need to be out. Please leave groceries. Don't hoard. Maintain social distancing. Support local businesses when you can. Wash your hands often and stay out of large groups to reduce the risk of transmission. As a community, we've been tested before, and we've always come through stronger. We will get through this together. When communicating, please rely on facts, not fear. Thank you.
Welcome back. The City of Greensboro has more than 20 departments and several divisions committed to serving you, our residents and visitors. Let's go behind the scenes in our department spotlight. Creative Greensboro has paired up with Arts Greensboro to promote virtual programs, tours, and other interactive online activities developed by local artists. The Greensboro At-Home Arts and Creativity Guide is a listing of local opportunities being published Monday through Friday afternoons on the Creative Greensboro and Arts Greensboro Facebook pages. Organizations and individuals can submit streaming events or other opportunities on Creative Greensboro's website. Ryan Deal, who heads up Creative Greensboro, said the need for people to stay at home during this global pandemic has forced a wave of canceled performances, classes, and rehearsals while closing museums and galleries. Artists are moving their work online. This guide is a way to support that work and keep the community connected. Submissions for the Arts and Creativity Guide are due by 9 a.m. to appear in that day's edition. All weekend activities will appear in Friday's edition. Straight ahead on the other side of the break is this week's Way to Go GSO shout out. Stay with us. As we draw to a close, we always want to end on a positive note with our Way to Go GSO shout out. This week's shout out goes to the City of Greensboro. Greensboro has been recognized by Lend.edu as one of the most budget-friendly cities in the country when it comes to homeowners with a mortgage. More than 25,000 cities were ranked according to the percentage of houses where the mortgage is 30% or more of the household income. Of Greensboro's 49,000 homes with a mortgage, 27.48% have a mortgage that costs 30% or more of the household income, ranking Greensboro number 31 in North Carolina. The full report is available on Lend.edu's website. That concludes this edition of FYI Weekly, but you can easily stay connected to the latest city news by linking to us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Alexa users can subscribe to our 5-minute flash briefings. Be sure to download our weekly podcast, Talk City Greensboro, and now GTN is streaming on Roku. For all of us here at the City of Greensboro, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.